Hands on the wheel. Now. The command hit before the siren even died. Red and blue lights kept flashing across the windshield, cutting Marcus Reed's face into sharp, shifting shadows. His fingers tightened around the steering wheel, knuckles pale, but he didn't move. Ava sat beside him, back straight, breath shallow, eyes locked on the side mirror. The cruiser door slammed. Heavy steps on gravel. Too fast. Too aggressive. Something already felt off. The officer stopped just short of the window, one hand near his holster, the other tapping twice on the glass. Not a request. A warning. Marcus rolled the window down slowly. Cold air rushed in. License and registration, the cop said, voice flat, eyes colder than the night. He didn't blink. Not once. Ava reached for the glove box, but Marcus gently touched her wrist. A small shake of his head. Wait. The officer noticed. His jaw tightened. I said now. The tone sharpened. A line crossed, but no one said it out loud. Marcus nodded once. Slow. Controlled. He reached for his wallet, movements deliberate, like every inch mattered. The leather creaked as he opened it. The sound carried in the silence. The cop leaned closer, scanning, not just looking, searching for something that wasn't there. Or maybe something he expected to find. A radio crackled on his shoulder. Static. Then silence again. Too quiet. Marcus handed over the license. The officer didn't take it right away. He stared at Marcus first. Long enough to make it uncomfortable. Longer than necessary. Ava felt it too. That pause. That judgment. Step out of the vehicle, the officer said. No explanation. No reason. Just control. Marcus blinked once. That was it. Then he opened the door. The night air felt colder outside. The gravel shifted under his shoes as he stepped out, hands visible, posture calm. Ava stayed inside, watching through the glass, heart thudding in her ears. The cruiser lights painted everything in broken color. Red. Blue. Red again. The officer circled Marcus slowly. Measuring him. Weighing something unspoken. Turn around, he ordered. Marcus did. No resistance. No question. Just quiet compliance. But his eyes stayed steady. That didn't go unnoticed. The officer moved closer, too close now, reaching toward Marcus's back pocket. The air felt tighter. Like it was holding its breath. His fingers brushed the edge of the wallet still tucked halfway out. Then he pulled it free. A small motion. But something shifted. The officer flipped it open. Quick at first. Then slower. His brow twitched. Just slightly. A detail caught his eye. Something small. Something he didn't expect. Ava leaned forward in her seat, trying to see through the glare, but the light kept breaking the image apart. The officer went still. Not frozen. Just paused. Like a thought interrupted him mid-step. Marcus noticed. Of course he did. He didn't speak. Didn't move. Just watched. Because whatever the officer saw, it wasn't part of his plan. The officer did not flip past it. He stopped on that one card like it had weight. His thumb pressed against the edge, holding it open longer than necessary. The flashing lights reflected across the plastic surface, but he angled it slightly, trying to see past the glare. His breathing changed. Not louder. Just tighter. Marcus noticed the shift before anything else. It was subtle, but it was there. A hesitation that did not belong in someone so certain seconds ago. The radio on the officer's shoulder crackled again. A dispatcher's voice started to come through, then cut off into static. He did not respond. He did not even reach for it. His focus stayed on the wallet. Ava leaned forward in her seat, eyes narrowing, trying to catch a glimpse of what had stopped him. She could not see it. Only the officer's face. And something in it had changed. Not fear. Not yet. But doubt. A crack in the surface. The officer cleared his throat. Once. Quiet. He closed the wallet halfway, then opened it again, slower this time. Like he needed to confirm what he saw the first time. His jaw shifted. A muscle near his temple tightened. The air between them felt different now. Less controlled. More uncertain. "Where are you headed tonight?" he asked. The question came out casual, but it landed wrong. Too late. Too unrelated. Marcus kept his voice even. Home. One word. No extra explanation. The officer nodded, but it did not feel like acknowledgement. It felt like he was buying time. His eyes dropped back to the wallet. That same spot. That same detail. Something small, but enough to disrupt everything. Ava watched his stance change. His shoulders lowered just a fraction. His feet shifted on the gravel, no longer planted with the same rigid authority. She had seen that before. Not here. Not like this. But she knew what it meant when someone started second-guessing themselves mid-action. The officer glanced up at Marcus again. Really looked this time. Not just scanning. Studying. As if trying to match the man in front of him with whatever was inside that wallet. The silence stretched. Too long for a routine stop. Too heavy for something simple. A car passed in the distance, headlights sweeping across them for a brief second, then gone. The darkness settled back in. The officer's grip on the wallet loosened slightly. Then tightened again. He was not sure what to do next. That much was clear now. "You mind telling me what this is?" he asked. His voice dropped lower. Not as sharp. Not as certain. He tilted the wallet just enough so Marcus could see which card he meant, but not enough for Ava to catch it from the car. Marcus glanced at it. Just a quick look. No reaction. No surprise. Just recognition. Then his eyes lifted back to the officer. Calm. Steady. "You already know what it is," Marcus said. Not confrontational. Not defensive. Just, factual. The officer held his gaze for a second longer than comfortable. Then he looked away first. That alone said more than words could. The night felt quieter now. Even the wind seemed to pull back. Ava's fingers pressed into the edge of her seat. She could feel the shift, but she did not know how far it would go. Not yet. The officer exhaled slowly through his nose. His posture changed again. Less rigid. Less aggressive. But not relaxed. Not safe either. He flipped the wallet shut halfway, then paused again. Like closing it would mean committing to something he was not ready to accept. Another car passed. The light flickered across the badge inside for a split second. This time, Ava saw it. Just a flash. Metallic. Official. Her breath caught. But she said nothing. She could not tell if the officer had fully processed it yet. Or if he was still hoping he was wrong. The officer's hand hovered for a moment, undecided. Then he looked back at Marcus. Really looked this time. Not as a suspect. Not as a threat. But as a problem he did not expect. And he still had not decided how to handle it. The officer did not hand the wallet back. He held it between two fingers now, like it might mean more than he wanted it to. His eyes flicked down again, then up at Marcus, then back to the card. The motion repeated, slower each time. He was trying to reconcile two different versions of reality. One he walked up with. One sitting in his hand. The red and blue lights kept flashing, but they felt dimmer now, less certain, like the scene itself was losing confidence. Marcus stood still, shoulders relaxed, hands visible at his sides. He did not fill the silence. He let it stretch. Ava watched from inside the car, her breath shallow, her eyes moving between the officer's face and Marcus's posture. Something had shifted, but it had not settled yet. The officer finally spoke, but his voice was quieter now. "You carrying any other identification?" The question sounded procedural, but it landed uneven. Marcus shook his head once. "That is sufficient. No explanation. No added weight. Just the truth, placed gently between them." The officer nodded, but it felt automatic, like his body was still catching up to his mind. He turned slightly, glancing back at his cruiser. The radio hissed again. A voice called his unit number. He did not answer. Not yet. His fingers tightened around the wallet. Then loosened again. A decision was forming, but it was not complete. Ava noticed his stance. The way his shoulders no longer squared up. The way his feet angled slightly away from Marcus instead of toward him. It was small, but it mattered. It meant the certainty was gone. The officer looked back at Marcus, longer this time. Not searching. Not scanning. Trying to understand. "Why did you not say anything?" he asked. The question slipped out before he could stop it. Marcus tilted his head just slightly. Not confused. Just measuring the moment. "About what?" he replied. Calm. Even. The officer's jaw tightened again. He glanced down at the wallet, then back up. "This." He lifted it a fraction. Not high enough to display. Just enough to acknowledge. Marcus's expression did not change. "You did not ask," he said. Simple. Direct. The words landed harder than anything else so far. The officer blinked once. That was all. But it broke something. A layer of assumption peeled back in real time. Ava felt it from the car. That shift from control to uncertainty. From authority to doubt. The night air moved again, brushing past them, carrying the faint smell of asphalt and engine heat. The officer exhaled slowly, longer this time. His shoulders dropped another inch. Not surrender. Not yet. But close to something like it. He looked at Marcus differently now. Not as someone to command. Not as someone to question. But as someone he had already misjudged. The realization was quiet, but it was there. He closed the wallet halfway again, then paused. His thumb rested on the edge, like he could still undo the moment if he moved fast enough. But he did not. Ava shifted in her seat, her hand resting lightly on the door handle. Not opening it. Not intervening. Just ready. Always ready. The officer noticed the movement out of the corner of his eye. It reminded him of the situation. Of the imbalance that had just existed minutes ago. Of how quickly it was changing. He turned back to Marcus, but this time, there was no edge in his voice. Only hesitation. "Sir," the word came out unfamiliar. Like he had not planned to use it. Like it surprised even him. The space between them tightened again, but in a different way now. Not with threat. With consequence. The officer swallowed once, his grip finally loosening as the weight of the moment settled in. He still had not decided what to do next. The word hung there longer than it should have. "Sir." It did not belong to the tone he used before. It did not match the way he stepped out of his cruiser, hand near his holster, voice sharp, certain. Now it sounded unfamiliar. Almost reluctant. The officer shifted his weight on the gravel, boots scraping softly, like he needed something solid. Under him again. He glanced down at the wallet once more, then finally closed it. Not quickly. Not confidently. Slowly. Like sealing something he could not reopen the same way. Marcus did not move. He let the moment breathe. Ava watched the officer's hands carefully. The tension was still there, just different now. Not pointed outward. Turning inward. The radio crackled again. Louder this time. Unit 12, status check. The voice cut through the silence like a reminder. The officer turned his head slightly, eyes flicking toward the cruiser. He hesitated. Then reached up and pressed the button. All clear, he said. His voice was steady, but thinner than before. Routine stop. The words felt wrong even as he said them. Because nothing about this felt routine anymore. He released the button and lowered his hand. His gaze returned to Marcus, but it did not land the same way. There was no edge now. Only calculation. And something else. Something close to realization. He extended the wallet back toward Marcus. Halfway. Then paused again. The hesitation lingered, like he still had one more question he was not sure he should ask. Marcus noticed. Of course he did. He did not reach for it yet. He waited. The space between them tightened again. Not with tension. With expectation. You work out of the city? The officer asked. The question sounded careful. Measured. Like he was choosing each word before letting it out. Marcus met his eyes. Sometimes. One word again. Enough to answer. Not enough to explain. The officer nodded slowly. His thumb pressed against the wallet edge. He was still thinking. Still adjusting. Ava shifted slightly in her seat, the leather creaking under her. The sound felt louder than it should have. The officer's eyes flicked toward her for a brief second. Not accusing. Not suspicious. Just aware. He had not really seen her before. Not fully. Now he did. And that changed the shape of the moment again. He looked back at Marcus, then at the closed wallet in his hand. A decision finally settled in his posture. Not fully formed. But enough to move forward. He extended the wallet again. This time, no pause. Marcus took it. Smooth. Unrushed. Their fingers did not touch. But the exchange carried weight. The officer took a small step back. Not commanded. Not announced. Just instinct. The distance between them widened by a few inches. It felt like more. The lights from the cruiser washed over them again, red then blue, painting everything in quiet pulses. The officer cleared his throat once more. You are free to go, he said. The sentence came out structured. Correct. But something was missing. Something unspoken still hung in the air. Marcus did not turn immediately. He slipped the wallet back into his pocket, movements controlled, deliberate. Ava watched him through the windshield, waiting for the next signal. Waiting for him to decide. The officer remained still, hands now resting at his sides, no longer near his holster. That detail mattered. Marcus noticed it. He glanced once toward the cruiser. Then back at the officer. The silence stretched again, but this time it felt heavier. Not empty. Loaded. The kind that comes right before something shifts again. Ava's fingers tightened slightly on the door handle. She did not open it. Not yet. The officer inhaled, slow and deep, like he was about to say something else. Something he had not planned. Something that did not fit the script he started with. His lips parted slightly. Then closed. He hesitated. Again. That hesitation said more than any apology could. Marcus tilted his head just a fraction, watching him, waiting to see if he would finish the thought. The night held still around them. Even the distant highway noise seemed to fade for a second. The officer's eyes dropped briefly to the ground, then lifted back up. This time, there was no authority in them. Only awareness. And something close to regret. But he still had not said it. The silence stretched just long enough to feel deliberate. The officer's lips parted again, but this time the words came out, quieter than expected. "I did not know," he said. It was not an apology. Not really. But it was the first crack that sounded like one. Marcus held his gaze. He did not nod. He did not soften. He just listened. The red and blue lights flickered across both of their faces, shifting shadows back and forth, like. The moment itself could not decide what it was anymore. Ava watched from inside the car, her chest rising slower now, but her eyes still sharp, still measuring. The officer shifted his stance again, his boots grinding lightly into the gravel. He looked down for a second, then back up. "You could have said something sooner," he added. The sentence landed uneven. It tried to reclaim something. Control, maybe. Or justification. Marcus let a small breath leave his nose. Not a laugh. Not quite. Just air. Would it have mattered, he asked. The question did not rise. It stayed level. That made it heavier. The officer did not answer right away. His eyes dropped again, this time longer. The truth sat there between them, obvious and uncomfortable. Ava felt it too. That question did not need an answer. The officer knew it. Marcus knew it. The night air moved again, brushing past them, cooler now. A distant truck rolled by on the highway, its low rumble fading quickly. The officer straightened slightly, but the posture did not bring back his earlier authority. It felt rehearsed. "It is procedure," he said after a moment. The words sounded automatic. Memorized. They did not hold much weight here. Marcus tilted his head just slightly. "So was this," he replied. A small glance toward the road. Toward the stop. Toward everything that had already happened. The officer followed the look for a second, then returned his gaze. His jaw tightened again, but not in anger. In recognition. He was starting to see the full shape of it now. Ava shifted her hand from the door handle to her lap. Slow. Controlled. She was no longer preparing to react. She was observing. The difference mattered. The officer noticed that too. Every small movement seemed louder now. More meaningful. He took another small step back. Not dramatic. Just enough to widen the space again. His hands stayed visible, relaxed at his sides. That detail stayed consistent. Marcus noticed. It was not lost on him. The officer glanced back at his cruiser briefly, then forward again. His radio stayed quiet now. No interruptions. No easy exit. Just this moment. Unfinished. He exhaled slowly, shoulders dropping another inch. "You are free to go," he repeated. This time softer. Less official. More personal. Marcus held his gaze a second longer. Then he nodded once. Barely. Enough to acknowledge. He turned toward the car, step steady, measured. The gravel shifted under each step, the sound grounding the moment. Ava unlocked the door before he reached it. A soft click. Marcus opened it and slid back into the driver's seat. The door closed with a muted thud. The inside of the car felt warmer now. Safer, but not completely. Ava looked at him. Not asking. Just checking. Marcus met her eyes briefly. A silent exchange passed between them. Something understood. Something left unsaid. He reached for the ignition, but his hand paused just short of turning the key. Outside, the officer still stood there. Not moving. Watching. Not like before. Not with suspicion. With something else now. Something heavier. Marcus glanced once more through the windshield. Their eyes met again, but only for a second. Then Marcus looked away. He turned the key. The engine hummed to life, steady and low. The headlights cut through the darkness ahead, clean and focused. Ava faced forward, her shoulders easing slightly as the car idled. The officer remained still under the flashing lights, his figure framed in red and blue, no longer commanding the scene. Just part of it. Marcus shifted the gear into drive. The car rolled forward slowly, tires crunching over gravel, passing the cruiser, passing the moment. For a second, everything aligned. Then the car moved beyond the lights, and the darkness returned to normal. Inside the cruiser, the radio crackled again. The officer did not reach for it. Not yet. He was still standing there, processing what had just happened. And what it meant. But one question stayed with him, louder than the rest. The cruiser lights faded behind them, but the weight of the stop did not. Marcus kept both hands on the wheel, steady, eyes forward. The road stretched ahead in a thin line of pale asphalt, disappearing into the dark. Ava did not speak right away. She watched the side mirror, even as the flashing red and blue shrank into the distance. Just to be sure. Marcus noticed. He did not tell her to. Relax. Not yet. The engine hummed low beneath them, a constant, grounding sound. A mile passed. Then another. The silence inside the car settled, but it was not empty. It carried everything that had just happened. Ava finally exhaled, slow and controlled, like she had been holding it the entire time. That was not random, she said. Her voice stayed low. Careful. Marcus did not answer immediately. His eyes stayed on the road. The headlights carved a narrow path through the darkness, revealing nothing beyond what was directly ahead. No, he said after a moment. One word. Enough. Ava turned her head slightly, studying his profile. You saw it too, she added. Not a question. Marcus nodded once. Subtle. He already decided something before he walked up, he said. The sentence came out calm, but it carried weight. Ava looked back at the mirror again. The cruiser was gone now. Completely. Still, her shoulders did not fully relax. And then he changed his mind, she said. Marcus let out a small breath. He had to. The words landed quiet. But firm. The car moved smoothly along the road, tires whispering against the pavement. A distant highway sign passed overhead, green letters flashing briefly in the windshield before disappearing behind them. Ava shifted in her seat, pulling her jacket tighter around her. The night felt colder now. Or maybe it just felt different. You let it happen, she said. Not accusing. Just stating what she saw. Marcus's grip on the wheel tightened for a second. Then eased. I let him show me who he was, he replied. Ava absorbed that. The words settled between them. Heavy. Honest. She nodded slowly, but her eyes stayed thoughtful. You knew he would push it, she said. Marcus glanced at her briefly, then back to the road. I knew he might, he corrected. Small difference. Important one. The engine sound filled the space again. A car approached from the opposite direction, headlights bright for a second, then gone. The darkness returned just as quickly. Ava rested her hands in her lap now. No tension in her fingers. But her mind was still moving. And if he did not see it, she asked. The question came softer. Slower. Marcus did not answer. Right away. The road curved slightly ahead. He followed it without thinking. Muscle memory. Focus. Then nothing changes, he said finally. Ava looked at him again. This time longer. There was something in his tone that stayed with her. Not frustration. Not fear. Something quieter. Something deeper. But something did change, she said. Marcus nodded once. For him, he replied. The distinction was clear. Ava leaned back into her seat, her gaze drifting forward. The rhythm of the drive began to settle in again. Normal. Almost. But not quite. He said you were free to go, she added after a moment. Marcus's lips pressed together slightly. We always were, he said. Ava did not respond to that right away. She let it sit. The road stretched ahead, empty and still. The dashboard lights cast a soft glow across Marcus's hands, steady on the wheel. Ava glanced down at them. No shaking. No hesitation. Just control. She looked back up. You did not correct him, she said. Marcus tilted his head slightly. About what? Ava met his eyes briefly. Calling you, sir, she said. A small pause followed. Marcus looked forward again. That was not for me, he said. Ava frowned slightly. Not confusion. Just curiosity. Then who was it for, she asked. Marcus did not answer immediately. The car passed another exit sign, the numbers flashing by too quickly to read clearly. The night stayed quiet around them. Too quiet. He exhaled slowly, almost thoughtful. He said at last. Ava turned her head again, studying him more closely now. There was something in that answer she had not expected. Something unfinished. The engine kept humming. The road kept stretching. But the moment from before had not ended. It had just moved with them. And neither of them had said everything yet. The road stayed quiet, but the question did not. Ava leaned back slightly, her eyes still on Marcus, still turning over what he said. For him, she repeated softly, like testing the weight of it. Marcus nodded once, barely noticeable. The dashboard lights reflected faintly across his face, steady, controlled. He needed to hear himself say it, Marcus added. Ava frowned just a little. Not disagreement. Just trying to see it from that angle. The tires rolled over a small seam in the road, a soft rhythmic thump breaking the silence for a second. Then it was gone. You think that changes anything? She asked. Marcus kept his eyes forward. The road curved slightly again, and he followed it without effort. Not everything, he said. But something. Ava watched him for another second, then looked ahead again. The highway stretched empty, almost too empty. A single streetlight passed overhead, casting a brief glow inside the car, then fading behind them. He looked different at the end, she said. Marcus nodded. He saw something he did not expect, he replied. Ava let out a quiet breath. He saw you. Marcus's hand stayed steady on the wheel. No, he said after a beat. He saw himself. That landed heavier. Ava did not respond right away. The car moved through another mile of open road. The hum of the engine filled the space again. It felt steady. But underneath it, something else was still moving. Ava shifted slightly, turning her body more toward him now. You do this often? She asked. The question was careful. Not casual. Marcus took a breath, slow, measured. More than I would like, he said. Ava's eyes softened, but her expression stayed focused. And it always goes like that? Marcus shook his head once. No, one word. Clear. Ava's fingers tightened slightly in her lap. Then why tonight? She pressed. Marcus glanced at her briefly, then back to the road. Because tonight he stopped, he said. Ava leaned back again, absorbing that. The difference was small, but it mattered. The car passed another vehicle going the opposite direction. Bright headlights filled the cabin for a second, then disappeared just as fast. Darkness settled in again. You waited for that, Ava said. Marcus did not answer right away. His eyes stayed forward, scanning the road, the distance, the edges. I gave him the space to make a choice, he said finally. Ava tilted her head slightly. And if he chose wrong? Marcus exhaled slowly. Then it would not be the first time, he said. The words were calm, but something in them stayed heavy. Ava looked down for a moment, then back up. That is a risk, she said. Marcus nodded. It is always a risk, he replied. The car's speed stayed steady, the road smooth beneath them. The night air outside felt still, almost watchful. Ava rested her head lightly against the seat, her gaze drifting forward again. You did not push back, she said after a moment. Marcus's grip on the wheel shifted slightly. Not tighter. Just adjusting. Not every moment is about pushing back, he said. Ava turned her eyes toward him again. Then what was this moment about, she asked. Marcus did not answer immediately. The silence returned, but it was not empty. It carried something forming beneath it. The engine hummed. The tires rolled. The world outside stayed dark and open. It was about letting him see the line he crossed, Marcus said at last. Ava studied his face, searching for more. And you think he saw it? She asked. Marcus's eyes stayed forward. For a second, he said. Ava nodded slowly. That answer felt honest. But incomplete. The car moved past another exit, the sign flashing by too quickly to read. The road ahead stretched long and quiet. Ava shifted again, her voice softer now. And what happens after that second? Marcus's hand stayed steady on the wheel. His jaw set just slightly. The question lingered in the air between them. And for the first time since they left the cruiser behind, Marcus did not have an answer ready. Marcus did not answer right away. The question stayed between them, quiet but persistent. Ava watched him, waiting, but he kept his eyes on the road. The headlight stretched forward in a narrow beam, cutting through the darkness but never reaching far enough. It felt like that question. Always just ahead. Always unresolved. The engine hummed steady, but the silence inside the car deepened. Most people do not think about what happens after, Marcus said finally. His voice stayed calm, but slower now. Ava turned her head slightly, giving him her full attention. They think the moment ends when the tension breaks. He paused. Just a second. But it does not. Ava nodded faintly. That felt true. The car moved past another empty stretch of road, the tires whispering against the pavement. The night felt wider now, almost too open. So what happens after? She asked again, softer this time. Marcus inhaled slowly, his fingers adjusting on the wheel, just enough to feel grounded. That depends on what they do with what they saw, he said. Ava leaned back into her seat, her eyes drifting forward again. You mean him, she said. Marcus nodded once. And others like him, he added. A small detail, but it widened the meaning. Ava let that settle. The rhythm of the drive continued, steady, almost hypnotic. A distant overpass came into view, dark against the night sky. The car passed beneath it, the brief shadow swallowing the headlights before releasing them again. Do you think you will remember this? Ava asked. Marcus did not answer immediately. The question felt heavier than the others. He took a slow breath. He will remember the feeling, he said. Ava glanced at him. Not the details. Marcus shook his head slightly. Details fade, he said. But that moment when something does not line up with what you believed, that stays. Ava considered that. Her fingers tapped lightly against her leg, once, then still again. And that changes people, she asked. Marcus exhaled softly. Sometimes, he said. Not certain. Not guaranteed. Ava watched his profile again, searching for more in his tone. And the other times, she asked. Marcus's jaw tightened just a fraction. They explain it away, he said. Ava's expression shifted. Not surprised. Just, familiar with that answer. The car moved into another stretch of open highway. No other vehicles in sight. Just darkness and the steady beam of light ahead. You did not explain anything to him, she said after a moment. Marcus shook his head. He did not need me to, he replied. Ava turned slightly in her seat again. You trusted him to figure it out, she asked. Marcus gave a small nod. I trusted the moment, he said. Ava looked forward again, her eyes narrowing slightly as she processed that. That is a lot to leave in someone else's hands, she said. Marcus's hand stayed steady on the wheel. It is not about control, he said. Ava let out a quiet breath. It felt like it at first, she said. Marcus's lips pressed together. Briefly. That is how it starts, he said. The words came out simple, but they carried weight. Ava watched the road ahead, the endless stretch of asphalt disappearing into black. And how does it end, she asked. Marcus did not respond right away. The car passed another sign, the reflective letters flashing and gone before they could be read. The engine continued its low, steady hum. The silence stretched again, but it felt different now. Not empty. Not tense. Just, unfinished. Marcus finally spoke, quieter this time. Most of the time, it does not, he said. Ava turned her head slightly, studying him again. That answer stayed with her longer than the others. The night pressed in around them, quiet and still, like it was holding on to the conversation. Ava's fingers rested still in her lap now, no tension, no movement. Just listening. The car continued forward, steady, controlled. But something in the air had shifted again. Not from what happened back there. From what it meant now. Ava glanced once more at Marcus, then back at the road. So this is not over, she said. Marcus's eyes stayed forward, his expression unchanged. But his grip on the wheel tightened just slightly. Not enough to notice unless you were looking for it. And Ava was. The headlights reached a little farther ahead as the road opened up again. The darkness did not feel as empty anymore. It felt like it was waiting. And neither of them had said what might be coming next. The road ahead stayed empty, but the feeling did not. Ava kept her eyes forward, though her mind was still back there, replaying small details. The pause before the officer spoke. The way his voice changed. The hesitation in his hands. It all meant something. She just had not named it yet. Marcus adjusted his grip on the wheel slightly, not tense, just aware. The car held steady at 60 miles per hour, the engine smooth, predictable. Unlike everything else tonight. A faint glow appeared on the horizon ahead. Distant city lights. Still far, but coming closer. Ava noticed it. Something about seeing lights again made the silence feel less heavy. You think you will talk about it? She asked. Her voice was quieter now, less sharp than before. Marcus kept his gaze forward. Maybe, he said. Ava turned slightly. To who? Marcus let out a slow breath. That depends on what he believes happened. Ava frowned faintly. He knows what happened. Marcus shook his head once. He knows what he saw, he corrected. The distinction landed again. Ava leaned back into her seat, her eyes narrowing just a little. That sounds like the same thing, she said. Marcus did not respond right away. The headlights stretched farther now as the road widened slightly. A second lane opened up beside them, empty. "It is not," he said finally. Ava glanced at him. "Explain." Marcus exhaled softly. "What you see is a moment," he said. "What you believe is a story." Ava let that settle. The words felt simple, but they carried something deeper. The car passed a reflective marker on the side of the road, the light flashing briefly across the windshield. Then gone. "So he changes the story," she said. Marcus nodded. "Or protects the one he already has," he replied. Ava's fingers tapped once against her leg, then stopped. "Even after something like that?" she asked. Marcus's jaw tightened just slightly. "Especially after something like that," he said. Ava looked forward again. The distant lights were clearer now, forming shapes, outlines of buildings, signs, movement. The world was coming back into view. But the conversation kept pulling her back. "So what does he tell himself?" she asked. Marcus did not answer immediately. He watched the road, the faint glow ahead growing stronger with each passing mile. "That it was just a misunderstanding," he said. Ava let out a small breath. "That sounds easy." Marcus nodded once. "It is supposed to be." Ava shook her head slightly. "But it did not look easy." Marcus glanced at her for a second, then back to the road. "No," he said. "It did not." The car moved into a slightly brighter stretch of highway now, overhead lights appearing every few hundred feet, casting short bursts of illumination inside the car. Ava's face came into clearer view with each pass. Thoughtful. Focused. Still processing. "You said something changed for him," she said. Marcus nodded. For a second. Ava leaned forward slightly, resting her elbow on her knee. "Then what?" she pressed. Marcus inhaled slowly. The rhythm of the road stayed steady beneath them. "Then he decides what to do with it," he said. Ava's eyes stayed on him. "And if he chooses wrong?" Marcus's hands remained steady, but his voice dropped just a fraction. "Then it becomes something else," he said. Ava tilted her head slightly. "What?" Marcus paused. The question lingered longer this time. He did not answer right away. The car passed under another set of lights. The shadows shifted across his face again. "A habit," he said finally. Ava leaned back slowly, absorbing that. The word stayed with her. Habit. Not a moment. Not a mistake. Something repeated. Something learned. The city lights ahead grew brighter now, the outlines sharper, the road busier in the distance. Ava glanced forward, then back at Marcus. "And breaking that?" she asked. Marcus exhaled slowly. "That takes more than one moment," he said. Ava nodded faintly. That made sense. But something still felt unfinished. The car continued forward, the hum of the engine blending with the distant sound of traffic ahead. The world was returning. Normal. Almost. Ava's gaze shifted once more to Marcus. "So tonight was just one moment," she said. Marcus's grip on the wheel tightened slightly. "Just enough to notice." "Yes," he said. Ava watched him for another second. Then looked forward again. The road ahead was no longer empty. But something about it still felt uncertain. And neither of them knew what the next moment would bring. The glow of the city grew stronger with every mile, but it did not feel like relief. It felt like transition. Marcus eased his foot slightly on the gas, not slowing much, just adjusting. The flow of traffic ahead became clearer now. A few cars. Headlights moving in steady lines. Ava watched them, her eyes tracking the motion, but her mind stayed on something else. "You said it takes more than one moment," she said quietly. Marcus nodded once. It does. Ava shifted in her seat, turning slightly toward him again. Then what makes this one matter? The question hung there, heavier than the others. Marcus did not answer right away. The car passed under a brighter stretch of lights, the interior illuminated for a second, then dim again. His hand stayed steady on the wheel. But his thoughts had moved somewhere deeper. Because he hesitated, Marcus said finally. Ava's brow furrowed slightly. That is it? She asked. Marcus shook his head. No, he said. That is where it started. Ava leaned back slowly, letting that sink in. The car merged into a wider lane now, the road opening up as they approached the outskirts of the city. Streetlights lined the highway, evenly spaced, casting a steady rhythm of light and shadow inside the car. Hesitation does not mean change, Ava said. Marcus glanced at her briefly. No, he agreed. But it means something interrupted the pattern. Ava's fingers tapped lightly once, then stilled again. An interruption is enough, she asked. Marcus exhaled slowly. Sometimes it is the only way anything begins, he said. The words felt measured. Not hopeful. Not certain. Just real. Ava looked forward again, watching the traffic ahead grow denser, more structured. You sound like you have seen this before, she said. Marcus did not react immediately. The car shifted lanes smoothly, merging into a line of vehicles moving at a steady pace. I have, he said after a moment. Ava turned her head again. And? Marcus's eyes stayed on the road. Most times, nothing changes, he said. Ava's expression tightened slightly. Then why does this one feel different, she asked. Marcus paused. The question lingered longer this time. He adjusted his grip on the wheel, subtle, controlled. Because he knew, he said. Ava narrowed her eyes slightly. Knew what? Marcus inhaled slowly. That he crossed a line before he saw the badge, he said. Ava sat back, absorbing that. The distinction settled in quietly, but firmly. The car moved past a cluster of overhead signs, green panels flashing directions and exits, then disappearing behind them. So it was not the badge, she said. Marcus shook his head. No, he replied. The badge only confirmed it. Ava's gaze shifted downward for a second, then back up. And if he had not seen it, she asked. Marcus's jaw tightened just slightly. Then he would have had no reason to question himself, he said. Ava nodded slowly. That felt true. Too true. The traffic around them moved in a steady flow now, headlights and taillights creating long lines of motion in both directions. The world felt more structured here. More predictable. But the conversation stayed unpredictable. So what changes him? Ava asked. Marcus did not answer right away. He watched the road, the cars ahead, the rhythm of movement. Not the badge, he said finally. Ava waited. Then what? Marcus exhaled softly. The moment before it, he said. Ava's eyes shifted back to him. There was something in his tone that felt final. Not finished. But grounded. When he still thought he was right, Marcus added. Ava leaned back again, her mind working through that. The moment before certainty breaks. The moment before doubt appears. The car continued forward, merging deeper into the city flow, surrounded now by other vehicles, other lives, other stories. Ava looked out at the traffic, then back at Marcus. And what happens if he forgets that moment, she asked. Marcus's hand stayed steady, but his voice dropped just slightly. Then nothing changes, he said. Ava nodded once. That answer did not surprise her anymore. But something in it still unsettled her. The car moved past another set of lights, the glow reflecting briefly across the windshield. The city stretched ahead now, wide and alive. Ava looked forward again, her expression quieter now. And if he does not forget, she asked. Marcus did not answer immediately. The question stayed with him longer this time. The road continued forward, but something about it felt like it was leading somewhere else now. And Marcus knew the answer mattered more than he had said so far. Marcus did not answer right away. The question stayed in the air, heavier now, more deliberate. The city lights reflected across the windshield, stretching into long lines of gold and white. Cars moved around them in steady patterns, but inside the car, everything slowed again. Ava waited. She did not rush him this time. She could tell the answer mattered. Marcus adjusted his grip on the wheel slightly, his thumb brushing against the seam of the leather. A small motion. Grounding. If he does not forget, Marcus said quietly, then he has to live with it. Ava turned her head, watching him more closely now. Live with what? She asked. Marcus kept his eyes forward. The moment he realized he was wrong, he said. Ava leaned back slowly, letting that settle. The words did not sound dramatic. They sounded simple. But they carried weight. The car passed under another set of lights, the glow flickering across their faces, then fading again. That does not sound like enough, Ava said after a moment. Marcus nodded slightly. It is not, he said. Ava frowned. Then what does it do? She asked. Marcus exhaled slowly. It follows him, he said. Ava's eyes narrowed just a little. How? Marcus paused again. The traffic around them stayed steady, predictable, but his thoughts moved somewhere less certain. In small moments, he said. Ava listened carefully now. When he sees someone who reminds him of tonight, Marcus continued. When he starts to act the same way, and something stops him. Ava nodded faintly. That made sense. But something still felt incomplete. Or he ignores it, she said. Marcus did not deny it. Yes, he replied. Ava's fingers pressed lightly into her lap. So it is still his choice, she said. Marcus nodded once. It always was. The car moved deeper into the city now, the buildings taller, the lights brighter, the movement around them more constant. But the conversation stayed anchored to that quiet stretch of road behind them. Ava looked out the window for a moment, watching the passing lights blur into streaks. You said most people explain it away, she said. Marcus kept his gaze forward. They do. Ava turned back to him. Why? Marcus took a slow breath. Because it is easier than changing, he said. Ava let out a quiet breath. That answer did not surprise her. But hearing it still felt heavy. And the ones who do not explain it away, she asked. Marcus's hand stayed steady, but his voice softened just slightly. They carry it differently, he said. Ava studied him again. How do you know that? She asked. Marcus did not answer immediately. The question lingered longer than the others. The car slowed slightly as traffic ahead compressed, brake lights glowing red in long lines. The rhythm changed. Subtle, but noticeable. Because I have seen both, Marcus said finally. Ava watched him carefully now. There was something in his tone that felt personal. Not just observation. Experience. And which one do you think he will be? She asked. Marcus exhaled slowly. The question stayed with him longer this time. He did not rush it. He did not guess. I do not know, he said. Ava nodded once. That answer felt honest. More honest than anything else would have been. The car moved forward again as traffic eased, the brake lights fading, the flow returning to normal. Ava looked ahead, then back at Marcus. You gave him a chance, she said. Marcus did not react right away. The words settled between them. I gave him a moment, he corrected. Ava tilted her head slightly. Is there a difference? She asked. Marcus nodded. A chance is something you offer, he said. A moment is something he has to take. Ava leaned back again, absorbing that. The distinction stayed with her. The city around them continued to move, steady and alive, but inside the car, everything still felt suspended in that one decision. Ava looked forward, her expression quieter now. And if he takes it? She asked. Marcus's grip on the wheel tightened just slightly. Not enough to notice unless you were looking for it. And Ava was. He did not answer right away. The question felt heavier than all the others combined. And somewhere behind them, miles away, that moment was still waiting to see what it would become. Marcus did not answer right away. The question stayed with him, heavier than anything that came before. The car moved forward through the city, surrounded now by steady lines of headlights and the soft glow of streetlights reflecting off glass and steel. Ava watched him, patient, but focused. She could feel it. This answer was different. Marcus inhaled slowly, his fingers tightening just slightly on the wheel before easing again. If he takes it, Marcus said quietly, then he cannot go back. Ava tilted her head slightly. Go back to what? She asked. Marcus kept his eyes on the road. To believing he was right, he said. Ava leaned back, letting that settle. The words felt simple, but they carried a kind of finality. The car slowed slightly as traffic ahead compressed again, brake lights glowing red in long rows. The rhythm of the drive shifted. Stop. Move. Stop again. Ava glanced at the cars around them, then back at Marcus. That does not mean he changes, she said. Marcus nodded. No, he agreed. Ava's brow tightened slightly. Then what does it mean? Marcus exhaled slowly. It means he sees the gap, he said. Ava watched him closely now. What gap? She asked. Marcus paused, the city lights flickering across his face as they passed under another intersection. Between who he thought he was, and what he did, he said. Ava's eyes softened just a fraction. That answer landed deeper than the others. The car moved forward again as traffic loosened, the flow returning to a steady pace. Ava rested her hands in her lap, her fingers still now, no longer tapping. And people do not like that gap, she said quietly. Marcus shook his head once. No, he replied. Ava looked forward again, her gaze steady, thoughtful. So they close it, she said. Marcus nodded slightly. In whatever way feels easiest, he said. Ava let out a slow breath. By changing, or by denying, she added. Marcus did not correct her. He just nodded. The car passed through another stretch of city lights, storefronts and signs blurring past in soft motion. The world felt alive again, but the conversation stayed anchored somewhere quieter. Ava turned her head again, studying Marcus more closely. And you think he saw that gap tonight? She asked. Marcus did not answer immediately. The question stayed with him longer than most. He adjusted his grip on the wheel again, subtle, controlled. For a second, he said. Ava leaned back slowly. That phrase again. For a second. It kept coming back. And if that second was enough, she asked. Marcus's jaw set slightly. Not tense. Just thoughtful. Then it becomes a choice, he said. Ava nodded faintly. That made sense. But it still felt incomplete. And if it was not enough, she asked. Marcus exhaled slowly. His eyes still forward, steady. Then it becomes a memory he avoids, he said. Ava looked down for a moment, then back up. The distinction stayed with her. Choice or avoidance. Nothing in between. The car moved through another intersection, the light turning green just as they approached. Marcus did not need to slow. The flow continued uninterrupted. Ava watched the light change behind them in the rearview mirror. You did not force him to see it, she said after a moment. Marcus shook his head. No, he replied. Ava turned slightly toward him again. You could have, she said. Marcus glanced at her briefly, then back to the road. That would not make it real for him, he said. Ava's expression shifted slightly. Why not? Marcus took a slow breath. Because it would be about me, he said. Ava leaned back again, letting that settle. The distinction felt important. The car continued forward, the city stretching around them, full of movement and noise and light. But inside, the space stayed quiet. Focused. Ava looked out the window again, watching people move along sidewalks, cars passing, life continuing as if nothing had happened. So you left it with him, she said. Marcus nodded once. That is where it belongs, he replied. Ava turned back toward him, her voice softer now. And if he carries it, she asked. Marcus did not answer right away. The question lingered, heavier now, more final. The car moved through another stretch of light, then shadow. His hand stayed steady on the wheel, but something in his posture shifted. Slight. Almost invisible. Ava noticed. Marcus exhaled slowly, his voice lower now. Then he might see the next moment differently, he said. Ava watched him closely. That answer felt closer to something complete. But not fully there. The city light stretched ahead, endless and bright. The road continued forward, just like before. But something about it felt different now. Like it was leading somewhere else entirely. Ava looked forward again, her expression quieter, more settled. But the question still lingered. And Marcus had not said everything yet. The city moved around them, alive and constant, but inside the car, everything slowed to something quieter. Ava watched the road ahead, but her thoughts stayed on his last words. The next moment, she repeated softly. Marcus nodded once, almost absent, like the idea was still forming even as he spoke it. The car turned onto a quieter street, leaving behind the heavier flow of traffic. The lights softened here. Fewer cars. Less noise. Just the hum of the engine and the steady rhythm of the tires against the pavement. Ava shifted slightly in her seat, her voice lower now. So that is where it matters, she said. Marcus kept his eyes forward. That is the only place it ever matters, he replied. Ava let out a slow breath, her shoulders easing just a little. The tension from earlier had not disappeared, but it had changed shape. It was no longer sharp. It was something deeper. Something that stayed. The car slowed as they approached a red light. Marcus eased his foot onto the brake, smooth, controlled. The car came to a stop. The silence returned again, but this time it felt settled. Not heavy. Not uncertain. Just present. Ava looked at the intersection ahead, empty except for a single car waiting across from them. Its headlights glowed steady, unmoving. Do you think he will remember you? She asked. Marcus did not answer right away. The red light reflected faintly across his hands, resting on the wheel. No, he said after a moment. Ava glanced at him. Not even your name. Marcus shook his head slightly. Names are easy to forget, he said. Ava looked forward again. Then what stays? Marcus exhaled slowly. The feeling, he said. Ava nodded faintly. That answer had stayed consistent. It had not changed. The light above them shifted from red to green. Marcus did not move immediately. Just a second. Then he eased his foot off the brake and pressed the gas, the car rolling forward again. The intersection passed behind them, and the street opened up ahead. Ava watched the passing buildings, the glow of storefronts, the quiet movement of people on the sidewalks. Life continuing. Uninterrupted. You did not need to say anything, she said after a moment. Marcus glanced at her briefly, then back to the road. No, he replied. Ava tilted her head slightly. But you could have, she added. Marcus nodded once. Yes. Ava studied him for another second. Why did you not? Marcus took a slow breath. The answer came quieter this time. Because it would have ended the moment too soon, he said. Ava leaned back into her seat, letting that settle. The distinction felt clear now. Not just what happened, but how it was allowed to happen. The car moved deeper into the quieter part of the city, the lights more spaced out, the streets less crowded. Ava looked out the window again, then back at Marcus. So you let him sit in it, she said. Marcus nodded. He needed to feel it, he replied. Ava's expression softened just slightly. Not sympathy. Not exactly. Just understanding. The car turned onto another street, the tires rolling softly over the pavement. The world outside stayed calm. Almost still. Ava rested her hands in her lap again, her fingers relaxed now. And now it is over, she said. Marcus did not answer right away. The car continued forward, steady, controlled. The silence returned again, but it felt different now. Not unresolved. Just quiet. Marcus finally spoke, his voice lower than before. It is never just over, he said. Ava turned her head, watching him closely. Then what is it? She asked. Marcus's eyes stayed forward, focused on the road ahead. The light stretched out in front of them, leading somewhere beyond what they could see. It becomes something he carries, he said. Ava nodded slowly. That answer felt complete. Not perfect. But honest. The car moved forward, the city unfolding ahead, full of moments, choices, and things unseen. Ava looked ahead again, her expression calm now, settled in a way it had not been before. The night felt different. Not lighter. Not heavier. Just clearer. And somewhere behind them, under fading lights and empty road, a moment was still deciding what it would become.